You know, they say that chance favors the prepared mind, although I find in my experience that history only remembers the bold. Back at Panther Junction, I decided to call an audible and switch my camp-up plans for the last 2 days here in the Big Bend National Park. I'm staying at a very primitive campsite called Gravel Pit, and it appears to me that I've found a river trip that I had not planned on making, and I think it's going to be pretty badass. I didn't see you come in. Welcome to my new home, Gravel Pit 2. Morning, fellas. Coming down for a little drink of water. Where are you going? Oh, you are coming down for a drink of water. Don't feel boxed in by me, okay? Man, this park is great. Just got to this spot and this already makes my day. I love it. Oh, look, they're hugging. Hugging. There's a cross-species friendship. They're horsing around, you might say. Or just being jackasses. You might also say, I got 1 million of them. And we are off. Today our intrepid adventurer is going to be paddling the majestic Rio Grande River from Gravel Pit, primitive campsite. We hope to find the famous hot springs of Big Bend National Park, and then we will be paddling on down into, I think, some canyons, I don't know, we'll see, and finally arriving at the Rio Grande campground and visitor center, ranger station, etc. for our takeout, where I have left my trusty steed, and I'll be riding that back to the gravel pit to get my truck and finish out the trip. Paddling the Rio Grande has been the fruition of a dream that I've had for a long time. I've been to Big Bend several times before, and I either didn't have a boat or, well, I never had a boat. I never brought a boat to Big Bend, and I was a little bit intimidated by it because I don't know much about the river. It's so far from where I live that it's impossible for me to reconnoiter it, and information is few and far between, but here I am, and I'm doing it now, and it's pretty badass. Not today, friend. Coming out to see if you can get something tasty. So you know, it's funny how a thing can be intimidating until you get into it and you're like, oh, that wasn't so bad. I guess I felt that way about the Rio Grande, like it was just a complete mystery to me, but it's accessible. If you're a paddler and you want to do it, you should do it.
Hey, listen to this dingus being all motivational and shit. Good for him. So listen, Haas, I know that I've been light on the details of the paddle so far, but if you stick around to the end, I promise to give you a rundown of the key points of this trip so that someday soon you too can paddle the mighty Rio Grande River. Now let's address the elephant in the room. People ask me if I was worried about predators while being in the more remote parts of the national park. The answer is not really. Most mature male predators, or yaucha, are typically fair weather hunters. And while the West Texas desert does supply the heat they like, it's lacking in the humidity and arboreal landscape that is their preferred hunting habitat. There were lots of signs in the park telling me to watch out for mountain lions, but I didn't see any. In fact, I covered myself in catnip and put chicken guts in my pockets because I just wanted to pet a fur head. But let me be honest with you. As I got closer to the hot springs, I was kind of more worried about cougar attacks. There's just something about hot tubs that makes people crazy. Speaking of crazy, let's get back to this jackass and see how he's doing on the river.
Like I'm picking up dragging, if you're not careful, too much weight in this boat. How y'all doing? How's the water?
It's warm.
Oh, shit. Okay, we have made it to the hot springs. That's those in the background, and I feel like I've got to make an obligatory plunge, right?
Let's do it.
Oh yeah.
Alright, that's what I'm talking about. These springs are awesome. Definitely worth the trip. Definitely good to soak these bones after the week I've had.
However, alright, that was amazing. Hot Springs, Bigben National Park. This river isn't going to paddle itself, but I think I'm going to do a little bit of hot cold therapy. I've had my soak in the hot. Now we'll go get our cool. They're very interesting. That's That, my friends, was the hot springs. Good news, I think I managed to torch another zoom camera. It's actually, so I've got this little Canon zoom camera that's got it's small and it's portable, and I want to have it just so I have a telephoto so I can kind of jump in and see things up close. And I've had one and I almost instantly dropped it in the water, and this one I put in dry storage in the boat, but I didn't notice that water was collecting as I was paddling when the lid was open, and so it's been steeping in water for the last God knows how long. I shook it out as best I could, but I'm guessing it's fried. Let it dry out. We'll see. I ate that. Man, I'm telling y'all, it is hard to film yourself adventuring, period. But it's really hard on the water. Your hands are always doing anything but working the camera, and you're always torching equipment because of the nature of the adventure. I'm getting better at it, but I still fuck up, and it's an expensive mistake when it is. I did the dumbest one I did. I took an inflatable paddleboard and I strapped a cooler to it and filled it with cargo, and I was doing a couple of nights on the Colorado River, and the cargo cooler I was also using as a seat, so it was turning into kind of like this makeshift skip, but it was tippy as fuck and never designed to carry that much weight. And I had these ridiculous camera mounts on it that were like on these dowels so I could film everything, and I just so tickled with myself. And it was the dumbest thing ever because it was a floating liability, and of course, like I get hung up on a bend in the river on a log jam and tip over, and it was a very expensive swim, and it was just so stupid. Tricky in these little flurries because you don't have much purchase in the water with the paddle because it's so shallow. You can't dig in and get a good power stroke. It's cool. This is borderline dead exhausted. Yeah, I gotta get myself out of this pocket. There we go. Should have gone right. No water there. What was I thinking? Need the river, Bogart. Ducks. White horse. You know, technically, I just realized I was cliff diving on the Mexican side of the river, once again becoming an illegal alien, and now officially a Mexican cliff diver. I've heard where people go down to like Acapulco or one of those like coastal towns, and there'll be these locals that'll be incredibly good at scaling cliffs and jumping off of them, and they do it for money from the tourists. And now I can count myself amongst their ranks. Well done, Bogart. Oh my God. Oh, Jesus. That's not good. You know, I hope these are still under warranty, because this lens isn't staying in. Ew. That's barn swallow nest. I say barn swallow, cliff swallow, probably. Look at these guys. It's amazing. I won't say there's no chance. Let's go out climbing. I've tweaked my knee on this trip, otherwise I might try a little bit of that. There, he's making excuses, and I don't have any climbing shoes. Well, I think we're coming to the end of our trip. This has been Gravel Pit to Rio Grande Village on the Rio Grande River in the Big Bend National Park. I'm Bogart, and remember, when you realize that no one is coming to save you, it can be a pretty frightening thought. But you know what? It can also be a pretty liberating one, too.
Blah, 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 blah. I thought he'd never shut up. Hey, want to know the details of my paddle? I'll be your huckleberry. This was a 4 to 5 mile paddle from Gravel Pit Primitive Campsite and Boat Ramp to Rio Grande Village Campground and Boat Ramp. It's on the east end of the Big Bend National Park. I was on the river for probably about 3 hours and I didn't dawdle, so plan accordingly. Oh, that's the Ass of Texas Adventure. Ass of Texas Adventure could probably stand to go to the squat rack every once in a while. Alright, so anyways, you have to get a backcountry permit if you want to camp at Gravel Pit. But if you're not making an exclusive beeline for the river, I wouldn't really recommend it. It's quite barren, and there are much better campsites with amenities in Rio Grande Village. Having said that, you will have to access the boat ramp there by taking jeep roads. Four-wheel drive is great, but if you don't have it, don't let that stop you. You just don't want to take your dropped El Camino with ground effects, as the trails are a bit bumpy. Get to the boat ramp early, sunrise if you can. I chatted with a river guide, and he said they don't get started with canoe tours till around 9 a.m. So there is a good chance that you can have the river all to yourself if you beat those guys out. Plus, the weather's going to be a lot cooler, and you're going to have a better chance of seeing wildlife in the morning hours. Now, river levels were extremely low when I did this trip. What's cool about this stretch of the Rio Grande is that the hot springs recharge the river a bit, making it navigable in lower water levels. But it's always best to check with the ranger station to see if water levels are going to be a concern for your trip. This wasn't a difficult river paddle. Because of the remoteness, I wouldn't do it by yourself if you're a noob to paddling. But other than a few tight choke points and light rapids, this was a forgiving stretch of river. Spare life jackets and paddles are required. That said, I didn't plan for that, and the place wasn't exactly crawling with river police. Bring plenty of water and snacks. You're still in the desert, and you do not want to drink from this river. And have some good water shoes, as you may have to drag your boat on rocky, slippery surfaces. Your takeout is going to be the Rio Grande Village campsite. It's pretty hard to miss the exit. Having a car at the put-in and a car at the takeout is ideal, but you can also likely negotiate a shuttle ride to the put-in with one of the many local outfitters there at the park. Or, if you're a Billy Badass like me, you can leave a bicycle locked up at the end. It's about a 6-mile ride back to Gravel Pit. I really enjoyed this trip. It was a cool way to get to the hot springs, and the canyon paddle at the end was beautiful. Plus, the trip was short enough to bundle it with all the other many amazing activities that I wanted to do in the park. Now, feel free to hit me up with questions in the comments below, or better yet, tell me some of your favorite Texas adventures. I'm always looking for my next trip. Thank you for watching, and until next time, hasta la vista, baby.